Hello, hello. Welcome to another Monday night, my dear. How are you?
I am good. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Healing the Whole Body podcast. We are on three Facebooks, two Instagrams, Twitch, YouTube, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcast, and Spotify. Did I forget one? Rumble. Rumble. Forgot Rumble. Yes. Well, hello and welcome wherever you're tuning in to us. We certainly appreciate it. So, we just came off of a holiday.
We did, and it was quite the holiday, but we'll start with yours first.
Nothing exciting. So, my best friend of 30 years passed away 3 years ago. And I was appointed um, their son's godmother. So I've taken that role very seriously. And so we now spend a lot of holidays together. They live about an hour and a half from where we're living now. So we went. Into Dallas and went to a Brazilian steakhouse for I don't cook. I don't cook for these people. I'm outnumbered. It's 3 guys. It's my husband, my godson's dad, and my godson who is gonna be 17. So, no, I'm not cooking.
Can't say I blame you. Can't say I blame you at all. Yeah, busy ladies. I know, Sly. We just got done with a private group meeting for the MFF challenge. So, welcome to those of you that are jumping from there and tuning in over here. It tonight is just a Q&A. So if you have questions, love you too. If you have questions, end up and post them in the comment box or post them in any of the threads because we are on live on multiple platforms. So yeah, I get that, the whole cooking for others. Wish we had a Brazilian steakhouse here. Sounds delightful. We don't, but I did the cooking. We had quite the spread. um I made a few different things with my sourdough that I normally wouldn't. So like my dressing was made with sourdough bread instead of regular breadcrumbs or bread, croutons, I guess, dried bread, whatever you want to end up and call it. Um, but I had ham. I roasted a ham. I did, or roasted a turkey, cooked a ham. What do you do for fun? We do this. What are you talking about? This is our fun. Um, we live and breathe this. No. Um, but then that was on Thursday. We celebrated with my mom, and then we were doing soups and meat and cheese tray on Saturday, but my family had a change of events that day. We My daughter ended up sick over, well, in pain. Let me rephrase that. She ended up in pain over the weekend. So we had to take her for emergency appy, an appendectomy this weekend. So that kind of changed plans. But yeah, talking about Q&A, or ranting, I guess. That's one of the rants that I would go on for tonight is the food that she had while she was in the hospital.
Yeah, you and I talked about that today, and I kept going, "What? Then they better what?"
Yeah. Yeah, when it wasn't necessarily plans to go to have this surgery. Um and when we went to the emergency room, so from the time we got there, not even 4 or 5 hours later, my 16-year-old daughter is going in for surgery. And so I didn't plan my food to take with me. Of course, Saturday was the start of the challenge. I had got up that morning. Of course, I eat breakfast within an hour of being up typically. And so I had some leftover turkey and sauerkraut, but then we took her about middle of the day, and I didn't take my food with me. I wasn't necessarily planning on her having surgery and staying in the hospital overnight. But she gets out of surgery, and of course, what's the first thing they want to give her? A popsicle.
Ugh.
A red or an orange popsicle, right? Um, and then at some point, she ended up, having they were feeding her pudding. I mean, it was like the option was pudding, ice cream, Jello, popsicles. I don't even remember what the other options were. And she kind of looked at me, and I'm like, you're not going to get other food, unless you follow their protocol. And so then the next day they did put her on a general diet, and she was able to get actual food. And she ordered, which probably wasn't the best option of eggs, right? But she ordered an omelet. She had it with ham and bacon, and I don't even remember, cheese, I think, was in there. And then she ordered a side of bacon, and then fresh fruit. I'm not against her having the fruit, right? It was at least whole foods. It wasn't something processed. So, but yeah, here, people are trying to heal, and let's feed them full of crap in a hospital and wake them up, all night long. I posted, I know I've got several over on Instagram following this live, but I posted over the weekend my Aura ring, and I mean, they were in there like every 2-3 hours. It was insane.
That's why I said it looked like you took a nap more than you tried to sleep on your Aura ring.
Yeah, it was crazy. When we sleep, we end up when we heal, right? When we get that quality sleep, when we get quality nutrition, we end up when we heal. But here they are, so she was out of surgery before 7 p.m. But yet they ended up, and I want to say it was like 2 o'clock in the morning. They were putting, yes, they come in and did her vitals and, all sorts of other things. And I get that. So let me backtrack, right? I've worked in a hospital. I get the other side of it. I am not against it. I am very appreciative of the hospital for picking up, because we went to 2 different ERs, and the first one we hit that ER pretty much too soon. They didn't do any of the imaging to find her appendix that was double in size and attaching to other organs, because it was infected. We were at the second ER because again, just as I would encourage anyone that is watching this or listening to this, be an advocate for your health. If you know something is wrong with you or with your child, be an advocate and push until you get some form of an answer. Because we pushed, we took her somewhere else, we got the imaging, and we ended up when we found that her appendix was over 12 millimeters in size. It was starting to seep fluid. She could have ended up and got very septic from it actually fully bursting. So be that advocate and push until you get answers. But the second, did surgery, it was great. I'm not against the hospital. I am very thankful that they were there. They took good care of my daughter. It just isn't, I see the comment, it isn't conducive for healing. No. And as soon as we could get her out of there, we were out. Because like I said, there's, bells and alarms, and they're coming in and kicking on lights all through the night. And, I obviously did not take my blue blockers. I didn't take any of my normal stuff, right? It wasn't like I was going prepared for this. And it's surprising when you are so routine. I won't say strict. I'll say routine. Routine with your practices. How intense when you don't have that control, right? Her coming in and kicking on, because now they use computers to, log and scan your bracelet and all of that. just the computer kicking on itself, when she would log into it, both my daughter and I were like, "Oh my god." It was like kicking on this big ol', billboard or LED light. Which it probably wasn't that intense to, the average person, but just like now I'm sitting under, a red and an orange light. Um, it was just like, wow, that was intense. So then of course I'm awake, right? My body's like, "Oh, bright light, we're awake." So then I couldn't, fall back asleep and she couldn't fall back asleep. I mean, it was long. Um, Grateful that I could be there with her, but yeah, it's definitely not a healing place
Which is
for
kind
sure.
of contrary to going to the hospital because you need something,
Mhm.
some kind of, yeah, not good. Yeah, when you told me they offered her popsicle ice cream or Jello, I said, "Oh my gosh, they would hate me because I would have been a very, very bad patient because I wouldn't have been like, get me some broth. Like, I don't know what we would have done."
Yeah, just say she had water,
Mhm.
a lot of water, and yeah, it was just. And they give you, this big old menu and you can order anything, it's basically like room service, if you will. You just call down
Mhm.
to the kitchen, they deliver. And I'm looking through it and I'm like, no,
Yeah.
it was just a lot of crap, for lack of a better word. It wasn't even, like whole food type food.
Right.
I was just.
Well, and I wonder, did they cook it in seed oils, and yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Yeah. Anyway, that's a whole, but I mean, it's tragic.
Mhm.
It's what that really is because she really obviously needed to have surgery. And I know you and I were talking today, and there's someone we follow on social media that had a surgery, and before surgery, they had her drinking Gatorade. And I'm like, "Why? I don't I I I don't understand." Um, why a surgeon would tell someone to drink Gatorade.
Because they're still under the old mindset of it being an electrolyte source,
Yeah.
right? But we know how much sugar is in Gatorade. I mean, basically, it it's pretty much sugar water.
Mhm.
Um, and especially even diabetics that are consuming Gatorade,
Mhm. Mhm.
just the old mindset of carbs and cover. Right? Let's
Right.
give them Gatorade, let's give them carbs, but hey, here's some insulin, right, to bring your blood sugar down.
Mhm. Oh, absolutely. I mean, if you look at the American Diabetes Association and what they tell you to eat, if you uh, Google it and look at what a plate is supposed to look like for a diabetic, it's like, how is somebody going to heal um, their diabetes if they eat like that? And I did. I mean, I was that person for many years, and my blood sugar kept getting worse and worse and worse and worse until finally I started researching um, keto.
Mm.
I mean, it was like I went uh, for a summer eating what was recommended as a diabetic, and my blood sugars got worse, and I flipped. And it's like, because it was like, oh, here's more pills, here's more pills, here, and something had to give, right? Something. I couldn't continue down I couldn't continue on the hamster wheel that I was on because I was only getting sicker, fatter, just metabolically unhealthy, and I had no clue. I mean, we're talking about I Googled how to eat keto, and when you do that, it's what they call dirty keto,
Mhm.
right? It's like, oh, eat this salad dressing, and oh, eat, and it's all this processed. I mean, but you don't know any different, right? And the thing that separated me out 3.5 years later is the fact that I have had to switch things up. I have had to change things. I have um, to heal, right? I've had to go beyond the nutrition. I've tried, paleo and uh, fasting and carnivore and uh, strict carnivore. And now I'm finding that my gut has suffered. And so I am also in the 90-day challenge that we're doing, which is the meat, fats, and fermented foods. And if anyone listening to us now get a chance, go back to last week when we talked to Dr. Sean O'Mara. Um, he was a wealth of information, and it was definitely very eye-opening. For a lot of It was actually a fun interview because we didn't really have to ask him a lot of questions. He he went with it, but it was very interesting what he had to say and why the importance of doing the fermenting. And of course, the 90-day challenge that we're doing now is teaching that as well, right?
Mhm.
And you have
Well,
to.
and what a better time. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. We're talking
I
on
was
top
just
of each other.
I was just gonna end up and say, what a better time to do a 90-day challenge with adding the ferments in there, because the probiotic and aspect of incorporating fermented foods, what happens in the wintertime for most people, right? They end up and they get sick.
Right,
They lose their immune system, or weaken their immune system, and a lot of people are getting sick. They're not building up that enzymatic support and protecting that gut barrier, so they're getting sick. They're getting A lot of people get more inflammation in the cold, and adding these fermented foods in help with both of those. So it helps with the immune system. This is one of the questions that we just had um, in the group meeting that we're doing, or that we just did, was why to add these quote ferments in, right? Essentially, it's why to add these microbes in to help support the gut health. But it does truly help on the immune function to add these foods in, giving the gut a diversity. A lot of quote carnivores that will say, plants are going to end up and kill you, blah blah blah. There is a lot of benefit in incorporating just a small amount of fermented foods to help with that nutrient absorption, so that people aren't getting sick. They're not getting deficient in other foods, right? the
hmm
the probiotic in the ferments aid in the digestion. It's not just the aid for the plant, but it's also the protein and the fats coming from your steak. Um, and I never can end up and pronounce it, but the proteotic lacid or lytic enzyme helps to end up and break down the animal source proteins, aka the amino acids, and make them easier to absorb into the system. So if you've ever ate a bunch of protein, feel like you have a brick sitting in your gut, that is part of the reason.
hmm
Um,
hmm
so there is benefit when you eat them together. Don't end up and sit down and eat, a bowl of fermented food and then have your steak. eat them together, and that will help to mix those in there. There is also short chain fatty acids. So when we look at getting different chains of the fats, there are short chain fatty acid in fermented foods, which help with the gut lining.
Absolutely. And just for an example, for breakfast this morning, I had eggs, bacon, and then I had some of my yogurt. And it's not just yogurt off the grocery store shelf. This is somebody that makes it locally and ferments it herself. And so that's what I had. And I ate it mixed together. So I got that ferment along with the meat or the protein that I consumed. And so, and then I tried something this weekend.
Yes, you did.
Yes, I
And
did.
you looked very thrilled by incorporating it.
Yeah, yeah. So we my godson, his dad and my husband and I, we went to a German restaurant. We've been there before. It's very good. And it's in Plano, Texas, if anyone knows where that's at. Uh Yorgs, I think is what it's called. But um so we got appetizer, which was the different kinds of the sausages sliced up, and then in the middle was a big old hunk of sauerkraut. Now, Becky knows me very well, um, but our listeners don't. I don't do vinegar anything. If I can smell it or remotely taste it, it's an aversion that I've had since I was a child. I was the child that dyed the Easter eggs and sat with my like that to dye the Easter eggs because I just couldn't handle the smell of the vinegar. So this is like a lifelong aversion. And I had recently gotten my blood work tested. I got the results back. I'm definitely mineral deficient. There's some things going on there that I know that the fermented food is going to help. And so I looked at that pile of sauerkraut and I thought, I'm an old lady now. Let's try it. My taste have changed, might have changed. So I took this little itty bitty bite and I went, "Oh, that wasn't bad." I said, "I'm surprised." And my godson's dad, he looked at me and he goes, "Yeah, that's German." He goes, "It's not as bitey as regular sauerkraut." And I'm like, "Well, I didn't mind that." So I took a video and sent it to Becky of me like, and taking a bite of like a bigger bite. And so I ended up getting a brat burger. Basically, it was just the meat, I no bun, and it came with a side of sauerkraut. And I ate the two together. So I would cut a piece of meat, take a scoop of my sauerkraut, and ate it. So I consumed it that way, knowing full well what I was doing. And then my husband's like, "Let me take a video." So then he took my phone and we sent it to you, Becky. So,
Mhm.
and it's like, but if I could get hold of that again, I think I would consume it. The problem is I'm so afraid that I'm gonna get hold of the vinegary based sauerkraut that it's like I'm really skeptical right now. So I don't know how I'm gonna figure that out. Yeah. So anyway, but I did it. I tried it, which was huge because even when I coach people, one of the things we always hear is, "I can't." Right? I can't. I don't like that. I can't. Oh, I can't do that. And here I was, that person, right? Oh, I don't like sauerkraut. I can't. And so I did, and it was good. Now, did I want to eat the whole big plate of it? No. And I know not to like consume that much, right? When my body's not used to it, but I did it. So and I'm still alive. See, I'm still alive.
Well, and that's kind of what we just got through, talking about in the group call too, was you don't have to consume, large quantities of fermented food to get the benefit of them.
Hmm.
You can even just consume a teaspoon, excuse me, or maybe it's a splash of, the liquid, right? There's
Yeah.
different fermented liquids that are beneficial. And so it's just sometimes getting comfortable with stepping out of your comfort zone
Yep.
and incorporating a few other things in. Sometimes we get a little too rigid, a little too strict. We
Well,
need to open that up.
and that has definitely wound up biting me uh, by being too strict and too rigid for too long. And that's where I'm having to look outside of being such a strict carnivore and being, I need to incorporate other things. I'm still in the healing process. And so it's knowing that you have to switch things up and try different things. Um, it's a lot of times the key. And I mean, I'm still healing, but that's okay.
Yep, absolutely. And that's where realizing that it's a journey, realizing that it's not, what's going to happen in the next 30 days, what's going to happen in the next, 60, 90, even though it's a 90-day challenge, right? It's just how can we put this in? Now, I do it more of a seasonal. So will I, next November, December, turn around and do something similar? Possibly, right? Because it aligns very well with the seasons. Um, may I end up and, do it a little bit different? Will I, I don't have someone asked me about like a meal plan. I don't have a set, this day I'm eating beef, this day I'm eating pork, this day I'm eating, um, type meal plan. So I'm sure, if I do it again a year from now, it's going to look a little bit different.
I, you and I've talked about this. We were so geared towards the WW, where you counted
Mhm.
points for your food. You were given a list, and you were told how to do it, and told what to eat, and told how much to eat, and I think that we're still looking for that. Um, when you start transitioning into a healthier lifestyle, right?
Mhm. Yep, a lot of people do, and I get it because a lot of people like structure, right? They need that guidance. So we did put together a grocery list. I put together a food list, but I just like I was saying, Saturday, I ate turkey and sauerkraut. Would typical people end up and eat turkey and sauerkraut for breakfast, right? You're going to eat more bacon, eggs, traditional things. It's what I had in my fridge. I had to make a turkey soup for later that day, and I had the turkey out. I'm like, oh, breakfast,
Yeah.
right? So that's kind of how things have transitioned. That's why I say it may end up and look a little bit different. Concept the same, but food may end up and be a little bit different. Um,
Right. You don't
we're also
have to have breakfast food for breakfast.
no,
Right.
no, I'm
It's
gonna
like,
end up and have a steak for breakfast tomorrow. So, you
right.
know, it is what it is, right? But yeah, if we look, at meal plans over, the century, if you will, they've all changed. They're all geared towards, certain things, aspects, whatever you want to end up and say. But breakfast, I mean, make it work for you. Make
Mhm.
it what food, we are getting a half a beef February. I'd stop and think. Um, and so I will probably have more beef focused meals, right? Because
Mhm.
that's what'll be in my freezer. Um, but that doesn't necessarily mean, that I'm going to eat ground beef for breakfast. I mean, make it work for you is the
Right.
the concept here, I guess.
So one of the things that I've been doing, if anyone follows me on Instagram, I've been posting periodically how to politely reject food pushers during the holiday season, because it started with Halloween, and it went to now we're Thanksgiving, and now you've got your holiday parties, and then you know. Uh, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, New Year's Eve, New Year, so it's a whole like long time period of kind of going off the rails. And how do the question that I asked in our meeting Friday, or no, a week ago Friday, was what what do you have a plan for Thanksgiving, and what is that plan? I mean, do you know? Yes, I'm going to splurge on this. Or are you going to stay firm? And so that's why I started putting out little posts on how to politely reject food pushers, because a lot of times people don't know how to say no. And whether a food pusher is that they're not being mean, right? But they don't understand either, when you say thanks, thanks for thinking of me. I've already eaten. Oh, well, you can have another bite, or one bite won't kill you. Or, oh, grandma's feelings will get hurt if you don't eat this. And you have to have plans in place to be able to combat them. Um, well, yeah, grandma probably won't get hurt feelings because she knows that I'm working on getting healthy, you
Hmm.
know, that kind of thing. Or um, I'm feeling pretty full right now, but maybe next time. Or you know what? I would love to take it to go, and then you throw it away. So there are things you can do to kind of set yourself up for success. Did you have a plan? I know you got off the rails, but did you have a plan for how you were going to eat?
Yeah. So, like I said, Thursday, obviously, and that's the benefit of me is typically we host. We are the central location, right? So I don't have to go to someone else's house and be at the mercy of what they're cooking. I can make sure, whatever I cook that I still end up and have, several options, right? Like I said,
Hmm.
Thursday I had turkey, I had ham. Um I personally used it as a carb day, so I had my sourdough dressing, I had some sweet potatoes. They're, Nebraska, they're in season. I hadn't started the meat fat ferment yet. That started Saturday. So I was still doing my seasonal eating. I had the sweet potatoes. Trying to think what else I ended up and I had that day. So there were, other things there that I had made family. Um, like my mom makes a fresh cranberry salad. It's got cranberries and apples and I'm sorry, mom, love you dearly, but it's not my thing. So I didn't have it. Um, but when you're the host, you can have several options. Saturday, we were having soup and sandwiches. Well, I had lunch meat, I had cheese. Um, like I said, I started my day with the turkey and kraut. I had pickles out. So my intention or my plan for Saturday was I started the day with the turkey and kraut. I was going to have some lunch meat. Ideal, no, not to have all the time, but I was going to have some lunch meat. I was going to have some cheese and take it and wrap the pickle, basically make like a roll up type thing, and that was going to be my meat, my ferment option, right? So I wasn't necessarily going to be tempted by the three different soups that we had, even though I made two of the soups, but it was ham and beans and turkey noodle. Um, but like I said, I was committed to doing the challenge. So I made sure I had options there that I could incorporate and still be on track for Saturday for um but yeah, and then like I said, it went all astray and we ended up in the hospital. I did have when my daughter ordered her bacon that next day, I didn't I didn't have any of the hospital food Saturday night. And so then Saturday morning she's like, "Mom, I know you eat breakfast. I'm done with my bacon. Do you want a piece?" And so I
Oh,
had a strip of bacon. And I can definitely tell you, as someone that consumes pork products, it was, probably like Oscar Mayer bacon, or the pre-cooked bacon. But it was the thought, and it was a best option, right? I could have
mhm.
went and bought crap, right? We already discussed the hospital food. So did I have the ferment? No. I did when I got home. I had my typical yogurt because we were out of the hospital mid morning. Um, and then it all started, right back on track, right? Love my family dearly.
Right.
They had put all the leftovers away from Saturday, and so I have the leftover meat, I have the leftover cheese, I have um, you know, I prepared and planned ahead for this challenge, so I have a whole like shelf in my fridge that have all my ferments on it, and it's just okay. Which do I feel like today? Do I feel like a kvass? Do I feel like a kraut? Do I feel like
Yep.
pickles? What ferment do I feel like, right? And I grab my container and that's what I have. So it's just fail to plan to fail.
Right.
So wherever you are, whatever scenario you're in, planning it out. If that means going to a family dinner, make sure you end up and you have something. Take a meat and cheese tray if you're at the mercy of someone else cooking. Take, a main course. Um, if you are a little bit more metabolically flexible, fast,
Mhm.
right? Do it. Put a 24-hour fast in there. Trust me, you're not going to wither away and, eat your arm off. Um, but fasting's not for everyone either. That's why I said if you are
Right.
metabolically flexible, not it. Like I said, there are still some conditions out there where people can't fast, and I understand that. Um, Making the best option in that scenario. So it's if this then that, right? I always have fail to plan to fail, and if this then that.
Right.
So if if I was in the hospital, I was going to have that less than optimal bacon, right? Or, something along those lines. And I know that I would be okay, right?
Right.
I'm not curled up in a ball, in the fetal position because I had this, piece of bacon, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and one of the things that I learned very long time ago, like you said, plan to fail or plan to succeed, in my purse at all times do I carry chomps, beef sticks, and the carnivore crumbs, which is basically dried meat, right, with salt on it. And I carry several of them. Sometimes I will put a Power Puck in there or a Super Chew from that same company, which is basically electrolytes, protein. What's in it? Super Chew. Come on, Becky.
Gelatin.
Gelatin, right? Beef gelatin. It's
Yeah.
it's beef gelatin. It's for a little package. It's like 25 grams of protein. Now it's
Mhm.
not something that I'm going to consume for every meal, but by gosh, it's in my purse, ready to go. So I'm not caught without that. I'm also starting to uh, get multiple blue blockers. So I'll at least have one in my purse at all times. I will have, this one is laying around all the time. This one that I got. And by the way, it's a red frame. Thank you, sassy. So and I would have it on now, except that the reflection and we've been asked by several people not for me to wear them because you can't see my eyes. So um, I did recently get a red light, a near infrared um, light, which probably I should have had it plugged in and on right now while I'm sitting here. But again, that planning ahead of time, planning to do, planning and so forth. Um, and if you fell off the wagon for Thanksgiving, move on. Start,
Mhm.
your next meal is an opportunity to get back on track. Um, it's not throw up your arms and go, well, I just ruined that for the rest of the year. And I'll start on, January 1st. And those are old habits. New habits, you just pick back up on the next meal and move on. I mean, we do have to live life. Like, it wasn't ideal you having your daughter in the hospital. And, I mean, at that point, you were worried about your daughter, not worried about what food you were going to pack to take with you. And,
Well, and that's just it because, you know, and to answer your question on having your red light on, people I can guarantee you would not be appreciative because if you would kick a red light on, this is what you would look like,
oh,
and
yeah,
they would think we're telling ghost stories, right? So,
right.
um, they wouldn't be very appreciative of that either. But no, because that is my red light, and let me tell you the difference. I'm going to go on my red light tangent here.
Woohoo.
Because just the difference in the red light, that automatically kicked my room up to anywhere between 36 to it's bouncing between 36 and 40 lux of light. Ideally, well, right, if I hold it, my lux meter right there, it's like 49. So the lux of light that you want after sunset is 10 and below.
Hmm.
So the intensity, now if I had it, in a larger room, sitting across the room, using it for more of an ambient light, but I also know that you're kind of in confined space like what I am in my office, right?
Hmm.
Therefore, that intensity is going to end up and be very bright, even though it is still a red light, just for having it in the evening as an ambient light. So be mindful of that for people that are using a red light at night. The intensity may be too high of a lux and it can interfere with sleep. But that's my red light tangent. Anyway, red light
I
is
love it.
beneficial. It is
There
very
you go.
healing.
Yes.
Um, just make
Yes.
sure you're using it at proper times. But to go back to, being prepared, yeah, if I went being prepared and I actually took my quote purse, right? I just grabbed my wallet. I made sure I had my driver's license and my insurance card. Um, and that was pretty much what I left with. Um, if I had my big purse, then yeah, I would have had other things because I do have blue blockers in that purse. I travel with them. I've got a couple different pairs that I've got two up here sitting beside me. Um, and then I have my Viva Rays that are the 3-in-1s that I travel with because it's one frame, but it gives me yellow, orange, and red So I don't need, multiple frames or multiple glasses in my purse, but I have all of these in my big purse because no matter whether when I come down to Austin or any of the other traveling I do, I travel with that stuff. I travel with my hydrogen water. I travel,
Mhm.
I I typically go prepared.
Mhm.
In this case, I didn't grab my big purse. So I didn't have, my hydrogen water bottle and all of that. But again, did that 24 hours complete, I I could have used that 24 hours. It wasn't even 24 hours. It was less than 24, but I could have, used that during this time of year and been like, forget it. I'll start over in January. I'll end up, I quote, messed it up, right? Um, Even though it was after Thanksgiving, I could have just said, forget it. I'll start over, the
Mhm.
beginning of January and I'll, really tighten my goals and um, completely just thrown caution to the wind. No. What did I do? I come home and it's right back on track. I was right back out for sunrise, grounding. All of that got right back into routine.
Mhm.
New month, right?
Right.
Yesterday was the 1st of December. Don't wait till the 1st of January. That's one
Right.
of the things that I sent out to my coaching clients was new month, new goals, set 3 goals for the month of December. Like I said, you don't have to wait till a new year. It's a new month,
Right.
new beginning, new day, new focus, new start, and using those intentions. So, um, like I said, don't wait. You still got the month of December, and you can make great progress in these next days.
Well, and one of the things that I had designed was a My Macro and Healing Journal. And that's still out there. It's a digital download. And that tracks a lot of different things more than just your food. Um, you know, there's moon cycles in there, and there's you can track your sun, your vitamin D, your sunrise, your sunset. So that it's more than just a food journal. And because I made it digital, you can print out a couple pages, a week's worth, 2 weeks worth, whatever it is that you want. And I made it pretty affordable because I know it was something I would have loved to have had when I started down my healing journey, was to have something like that to guide me. And so actually I should probably pull that up, Becky, while we're talking. So I'll let you talk and I'll pull it up and put the link in the chat.
Well, and that's I just had a client ask me the other day, if you wake up early in the morning, what do you do? I end up in my journal. I plan my day. I prepare myself for success of that day. Right? If there's ever that time frame, work on yourself. Maybe that's doing a little bit of breath work. Maybe that's doing tapping. Maybe that's, being mindful of what your day is going to look like. And so that's where, using either the affirmations journal or the macro tracker, just kind of giving yourself a jump start, if you will, on the day and being able to be prepared, right? Plan that out.
Right, right. Emma put the affirmations journal in here as well. Again, that's super affordable. It's $7. The let's see, the my macros is 14.97. My macros and healing journal. I mean, we're not talking about $50. We're talking about something very affordable, and it's a tool. It's a tool to help get you on track and um kind of where to start and what to do, right?
Hmm. Yep. Absolutely. It gives you that solid foundation of being able to be prepared.
Hmm. Yeah, speaking of which, so I'm getting ready to um, go to my annual cookie bake
Mhm.
coming up. I leave on the 13th. I'll be gone all weekend. We will make massive amounts of cookies. Um, none of it keto, none of it carnivore, none of it whole foods, none of it. It's full on like, 50-pound bag of sugar and 50, 70-pound bag of flour. Like we're at it. And so I'm actually, it's for me now because we moved, it's about a 5.5 hour drive for me. So I'm going to be packing like an ice chest cooler and taking it with me. So I don't plan to fail. Now, um, I want my girlfriend's grandmother's sugar cookie recipe. It is some of the best sugar cookies I've ever had. Last year, I knew that I was going to uh, have a cookie that turned into a binge of sugar cookies. So I know going into it this year is I can't even have one. I'm not going to go off the rails. So I know that. I know that ahead of time. That is something that I'm okay with, right? Because if I start, I can't stop. So I'm not a moderator, I'm an abstainer. And so
Mhm.
that's kind of the, yeah, it's like, oh, darn.
Yep. And that's where many of us differ, right?
Hmm.
I could probably end up, and I'm a little bit more metabolically flexible and could probably have a cookie and be like, okay, I'm done.
Right.
Although as good as what you're saying the cookie recipe is, I might have to have two. No, I'm kidding. Um, but yeah, I would be able to end up and have that. My glucose would, be back to baseline. All of that. Where you are more of the abstainer, I'm on the opposite end. And I understand that. And that's why I keep saying everyone is an n equals one, right? Everyone
Right.
is different.
Right. Right. So yeah,
So,
it's knowing that about yourself, and that's huge to recognize just that alone, that I know that I can't even go there. Um, I can, let me rephrase that. I can.
mm,
I choose not to, because every choice I make is a step towards my healing process, right? And I want to heal more than I want the temporary satisfaction of going off the rails and eating a bunch of cookies. So that is kind of my mindset. And that has been the biggest change in anything I've ever done as an adult, was changing that mindset.
mhm, which is huge. It all starts in the mind.
It absolutely does. So, but yeah, well, this was fun. I'm so glad your daughter is
It
on the
was.
mend.
Me too. Me too. And I appreciate all the thoughts and prayers from everyone um, throughout the social media. Many, like I said, many of you are friends with me on one of the various platforms that we are live on tonight. And I have definitely felt the prayers, felt the thoughts, felt the virtual hugs, and so has she. So we are truly grateful for all of that coming our way this weekend, and knowing that we have the community support um, helping us through that.
So we have some speakers coming up
We
in the
do. We
works.
don't have any. We don't have any definite dates, but we do end up and have Mike Butzel, which many of you know him as Metabolic Mike. We have Dr. Bill, which many of you know him as the author of Eat Like a Human. He is also a chef at the Modern Age Kitchen, which is out in Maryland. We have Sean Baker coming up, Sarah Kleiner, amongst many others, but those
Mhm.
are the ones on top of my head right now. So stay tuned for the dates of those. We will also have a few others that are in the works, just not got a verbal confirmation. So,
Absolutely. Well, we have a meeting to get to right after this in the BNC community.
yes, ma'am, we are headed over there. Nothing like bouncing back and forth between the MFF challenge with the BNC community and other members and coming here, spending time with all of you lovelies, following. We appreciate each and every viewer that is on here. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, leave us questions if you want us to do a Q&A. Put your questions in the comments. Send your questions our way. We'll end up and we'll do those and get your questions, burning questions answered. If you're on one of the listening platforms, make sure you get it our way as well. But we appreciate you guys.
Absolutely. So we will see you Monday, same time, 7 p.m. Central. We go live. So hopefully you can join us. And again, thanks for uh, thanks for tuning in. It's the listeners that keep us going, and we do truly do appreciate you.
Awesome.